Hey everyone, welcome back to Legal Limelight. Today I have a special guest, JoAnn Holmes. She is an intellectual property attorney, and I'm going to read her amazing bio when she hops on, but this is going to be awesome. JoAnn is one of the top attorneys right now in the NFT, crypto, blockchain space. We had an amazing conversation earlier, so we wanted to bring this conversation online and directly to everyone. So I'm just going to give it a minute for JoAnn to come on. Hey guys, good to see you. Hey Nima the lawyer. This is going to be a good one, so you should definitely hang out. I'm just going to give it a second for Miss Jo to hop up on here. But while we're waiting for her, I do want to give a couple of overview topics on what her and I talked about in our phone call. She's killing it right now when it comes to innovating the way that businesses hire attorneys. I'll let her tell you a little bit about that, but she helps clients who are in either their brands that are entering this space into the metaverse, or it's businesses that are thanks Biz Rally. Businesses that are already in the space with NFTs, Dowels, blockchain, and tech. So I'm gonna just message her real quick, and then I will. This is definitely her first live, so we wanted to do this on Instagram just to bring the community to Instagram. Hey, IP Professor. I'm just giving it a second for JoAnn to jump up here if she's around. Oh, Jo. Hi. Okay, I thought you were coming on your... Hey, guys. Hey, Miami injury attorney. Jo, I just accepted. I see you now. Accept. Okay, I just hit accept. Let's see. Hey, Legally Andrew. We're just going to give it 1 second. Hi, Amanda. Okay, Jo, can you, is it working? Let's see. Your biz. I just invited you to join. Okay, thanks guys for being patient. We're just trying to figure this out. Let's see. I just invited you again, Jo. Jo, maybe come out. Jo, I would exit out and then come back in. Thanks for pointing out my TikTok today with Kim Kardashian. It's definitely Saint.
Are we there?
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, that's why I love Instagram though. It's just like informal and fun, so it's all good.
I was nervous, and so being a lawyer, I had you connected on my Mac and connected on my phone, and I was like, one of these is gonna work.
No, this is perfect, and it's good to see you. We had a great convo over the phone, but it's good to see you in person.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everybody who's been joining for your patience.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to read your, the bio, because you're just a boss. So JoAnn Holmes practices in the areas of digital asset law, NFTs, metaverse, DAO, IP, and crypto, and blockchain. All the things related to blockchain and IP licensing. She helps brands and content creators create a Web3 strategy, monetize their IP, and negotiate successful deals. And if all of that sounds familiar, it's because we have a very similar practice, but we were really excited to meet each other and brainstorm and collab. And I wanted my whole network to meet Jo because she's really, you're definitely a revolutionary and a leader in this business right now. You're at the forefront of figuring out not only how to advise clients who are entering Web3, but also I love what you're doing with the business, with the business of law, which we can talk about.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, let me say that the admiration is mutual. I have the greatest respect for you as an attorney and as a content creator. And, especially in this Web3 space, there is so much fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And there are a lot of people who have good intentions and maybe don't have the best information. And so I really appreciate the commitment that you've made to this community to make sure you're sharing quality information so people can make informed decisions.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. My friend the other day was saying how, you talk about being preventative and getting things done the right way, which I know is your practice too. You really want to get people set up to protect rather than litigate. And it comes down to education.
Yes.
And how do you educate people? It's by making content, being online, having you come on the show. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. And I think that, one of the things that I really appreciate about you and your work is you look at law from a business lens. And so unfortunately, so often people have had experiences with attorneys where the approach is say no unless you prove that we can get something done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what really people are appreciating, especially in the Web3 space, is everybody in the ecosystem has to think outside the box. And so, again, going back to that, sharing the fundamentals, especially with Web3 around core intellectual property and contract concepts, and helping them feel accessible so people know what to do with that to try to achieve their objectives.
It's so true. And I think like it's for lawyers, it's the fear of giving inaccurate information or having someone construe it as legal advice, but that's stopping you. If you're a lawyer listening to this right now and you've never done any content or any education online, what's the difference between you talking on an Instagram live versus being at the city bar? There really isn't, as long as you're being professional and giving, accurate information. I wish we saw, well, we will see. Do you think we'll see more lawyers doing what we're doing?
What's interesting is that we are trained as attorneys to be risk adverse, which is not realistic in business, honestly. And it's not realistic in Web3, as you so well know, Francesca. We've got the regulatory side of things where there's a whole of government approach look at digital assets and trying to come to sensible regulation around that, which will be a catalyst, I think, for the industry, for people to have more clarity around what to expect. And then on the other side of things, you have got litigation that's happening in real time. Some of it that you've done great sharing and reporting around, where people are dealing with the gray areas of law and really sometimes filing litigation to try to have a judge or a jury make a decision around how can we go forward under the legacy set of laws that we have with a very quickly moving Web3 space. So I do think that eventually more lawyers will come in, but I think you've kind of got to get in the trenches. You've got to be in the space. You've got to understand cryptocurrency. You've got to understand Dowels. You've got to understand the value of issuing an NFT and the component parts of these pieces of technology so that you can speak the language of the ecosystem and help people have confidence in you. And I think, unfortunately, there might be a lot of attorneys who don't know where to get started. One of the things that I do, no matter who I'm talking to, is help them understand, how do you even get started so that you can get a foothold and think about how you can provide value here.
How can attorneys and how can businesses get started?
So, I'll tell you, I have learned so much from free resources like YouTube, like podcasts, like great content creators like you, reading articles. We have this concept in Web3, do your own research. And I would take it even a step further and say, and double check that research, right? Don't trust any one given resource. Really put your spidey senses up and build a set of resources that you have found to consistently be knowledgeable in this space so that you can do that cross-checking. For attorneys, just like I've said when I'm speaking to financial advisors or marketers, you can do some really simple things like go to LinkedIn and type in marketing and crypto. Take out crypto and put in Web3. Take out Web3 and put in digital assets, right? Attorneys can do the same thing and just see who's already in the space based on what's in their title and keywords and start following their career. Look at what they're posting. Look at how they're engaging with others. Do that same kind of searching and set a free Google alert so that you can get some foundation for what's being discussed and give yourself some grace, because this ecosystem is changing a lot in real time. And so it's a lot to take in. It's okay if you don't get it all right away.
Yeah, and there's also a saying in the community, in the Web3 community, that no one's an expert. Everyone is figuring this stuff out. It's moving too fast to be an expert, and you don't necessarily have to be an expert, but you do have to understand the issues. It's like I always give the analogy of the internet. You know, in the 1990s when the internet was invented, people wrote that off as a scam. People wrote that off as a potential fad. And maybe some lawyers waited and said, I don't really want to understand this thing yet. I'll deal with things when they get better and when it goes away. But that's not going to happen. Blockchain will be integrated. You know, you and I have talked about this. It's going to be integrated into our lives as the technology gets more and more user friendly. It's just going to become more integrated. So for lawyers, you know, I don't understand the interworkings of the internet, but I understand how the internet works. And it's the same thing with blockchain and crypto, Metaverse, Dowels, you know, that whole, all of the tech that has come out of blockchain and virtual reality. It's very important to understand. Do you kind of agree with that?
I think it is important to do your homework so that you approach the space with respect and you have a foundation. So let's give people a bit of a baseline, if we could, about what we're talking about. So when I say Web3, I break it down into 5 tent poles. There's cryptocurrency, which is the monetary unit of this space. There are over 10,000 of them. Some of them have more value than others, but it's sort of how we pay for transactions. The second is DeFi, or decentralized finance, which is a tool much like traditional finance where you can do things like earn yield, collateralize assets, again, financial transactions. All of that is sort of a secondary Web3 version of traditional finance that we all interact with every day, except with the benefit that people who have not had access because maybe they were unbanked before, now have access to these financial systems. The third is NFTs, and that's when we really start to get into our wheelhouse, because non-fungible tokens are that space between deeds of ownership and digital or physical assets, right? And so that might look like a Bored Ape, or that might look like a house in terms of that deed and what it matches up to. And NFTs dovetail so quickly into the fourth tentpole, which is DAOs, which are these exciting new organizations that spring up around a common cause and with a common bank account. And so that makes it possible to collaborate and build and coordinate in ways that we haven't historically, but it's so important for people to be mindful that our laws still have cadence, even in a Web3 space. And then the fifth and final tentpole is the metaverse. These wonderful opportunities that are bridging the gap between Web 2 with Minecraft or Roblox, for example, and Web 3 with the Sandbox and Decentraland, where we have opportunities to take assets and be able to own them in ways that weren't possible in Web 2 gaming, for example. And you know, through the pandemic, we have physicians who were treating patients in the metaverse, right, and using virtual reality tools. And so, to your excellent point, Francesca, in the late 90s, early 2000s, could we have imagined that we would get into a stranger's car to get us from one place to another, or live in a stranger's house while we're on vacation? Absolutely not. So I'm so excited for attorneys and all kinds of professionals, creators and innovators. As IP attorneys, that's what we do. We support innovators and creators. I think it's just incumbent upon people to find great resources like you, where they can say, okay, she's earned my trust. It's worthwhile for me to learn from her so that I can take that information and bridge it to my talents and what I have to contribute.
And so, like, I thank you for that overview. That really was super succinct and clear. for anyone listening to this and thinking, wow, Jo totally understands this stuff, I'm never going to be as knowledgeable as her, I don't understand. I disagree, because, and you said how, Francesca, you know, people watch you and they trust you because Jo and I have put in the 30 plus hours watching YouTube, getting onto some of these metaverse platforms, looking at NFTs, understanding the technology for ourselves, and just going down the rabbit hole on YouTube. That's how I learned, like doing your homework. Do you kind of agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's been 1,000 hours or more, frankly. Not
Yeah.
everybody needs to make that kind of commitment.
30 is the minimum. 30 is the minimum.
Oh, yeah, I think absolutely. And also, I would say people have real lives, right? So I love to multitask. So I'm listening to podcasts while I'm doing the laundry, right? I am jumping onto YouTube to see, like, there are certain people who I follow. We had huge news in crypto this week, right? And so there are certain people who I followed long enough that I was like, I want to watch their video. I want to see how they're responding. I want to get a sense, because when you find trusted resources like you have a pulse on your community. You know where your clients' concerns are. And so you are crafting strategy and sharing information that is going to be aligned with the people who know, like, and trust you. And so I would say, yes, you are going to have to put some time into learning the words and the ecosystem. But one of the things I have been so fortunate to find is that people are really kind.
Yes.
If you make the effort, then they will bring you into the community and be happy to share resources. You know, I am in communities of attorneys. I follow attorneys on Twitter. I jump in and talk to them on Discord, and we are all learning this together. As you said, it's hard for anyone to say with confidence that they're an expert because the space is evolving so quickly.
It's so fast, but you're right. Like, you have to do your homework, and that's what I fell in love with about NFTs, because I'm very involved with NFTs. NFTs for me is like the mix of art, fashion, intellectual property, creativity. It was really like this perfect intersect for my interest and my career. So I just like went really all in around December. I wish I went in earlier. Maybe would have made some money, but at this point I got into the point where I got to actually mint a couple of, or purchase. I did not mint. I wasn't the first buyer of, I was a second or a third or a further buyer, but I do have some really cool and big NFTs because my husband and I went all in, and we've realized, you know, this is a way that we can invest in brands. We can invest in businesses early through NFTs. And if you look at it that way, you know, if you had the opportunity to invest in Facebook and Snapchat early on these teams, you could have done very well for yourself. And
yes.
So it's IP for sure. There's intellectual property, but it's also a way for us to invest, and it's community. Like, NFTs are everything.
I agree with you, Francesca. I mean, I come at this, I approach it from the perspective of having been a cultural anthropology major as an undergrad. Cool. And so I see a collaboration of culture, community, and curation in this space, right? So particularly, I think, because of the pandemic, we started organizing ourselves globally around psychographics more than demographics, right? So I might have more in common with you given our interest in Web3, even though that we live in different parts of the country. And what we have now, by virtue of the extraordinary technology that we have availed to us, is the opportunity to find where their common interests. What is that if not culture, right? And then the baseline of Web3 ethos is around community and giving value to community. And then that piece around curation is, we all have so much information coming at us all the time. And so to the conversation that we've been having so far, that piece of who are the curators, who I know, like, and trust, who can give me the information that's going to be beneficial for me. I mean, I am so fortunate to be able to have conversations with projects from, startups with creators who are doing their first collection, to multinational conglomerates who are trying to develop Web3 strategy for themselves and their clients. And the commonality is we're all figuring this out together. So when I'm talking to my clients around strategy, if it's an NFT collection, I'm saying, how can you serve your community? Why are there people following you? And how can you give value back to them so that they become invested enough to go out and be your marketing team, right? And help you grow your community. If you are wanting to create a product or service in the world that doesn't exist or provide value in the world, I'm having conversations around how a DAO can be a support tool for that. But at the same time, making sure that people understand if you spin up a DAO with no company wrapper, you're a general partnership with lots of liability for people who you don't control, right? And so really helping people understand. One of the great things I like to do is help my clients prioritize. And I know this space can feel overwhelming. And I think that's why it's so great to have conversations with attorneys like you who, similar to me, are invested in this space, because we don't want our clients to waste their money or this opportunity to really take leadership roles and build on the trust of the communities or buyers of their products or services. I think this is a really extraordinary opportunity for brands and creators to think about, how do I do that intersection of culture, community, and curation so that I can make sure that I'm building something lasting in this space?
Culture, creation, and community.
Culture, yes. Culture, community, and curation.
And
curation, because we're all so overwhelmed, right? We need someone who we can trust to say, okay, this is the right information for me to have so I can process and synthesize that and understand, as a business leader or a community leader, what do I do with all of this? I think that's one of the things that people really need, because we have our guards up. There are scams everywhere. I've had heartbreaking conversations with people about rug pulls or even actors with good intention where things don't work out. And so I think there's an acute need for good curators in the space.
Well, everything you've just said, I'm literally going to rewatch this and go back and take notes, because just so many gems have been dropped on all platforms, because it just gives context. But also, Jo, the point, you've made a couple of great points. Okay. So one, that as advisors and lawyers, you have to understand this space. But two, what does this technology do? This gives you the opportunity to build community. Community is everything. Like, I mentor a lot of law students and young professionals, and the core of what I teach them, like the core of my method, is networking to build authentic relationships. And what do you do? What's the end goal of that? It's not to have, the end goal isn't dollar signs. The end goal is to have a community of people that know, like, and trust you, that are going to help you no matter whatever it is that you're doing in life. If you only think, oh, I need to network to get the next job, or I need to network to sell something, it's completely obvious. Not only that, you're missing out on incredible opportunities to live a wonderful life by mixing relationships and work, but also you don't know where that, I call an opportunity funnel. It's your opportunity funnel you're building. You don't know where it's going to take you. Maybe you're going to meet your significant other. Maybe you're going to meet your new best friend. Maybe you'll meet your business partner. But if you go into it too narrow of a relationship, you're missing the point.
I absolutely agree. I mean, one of the things I think we need to do is give ourselves space to evolve, right? It's not possible to know all of the opportunities of the space now, but and this is one of the things I really love about the space that we're in, Francesca. My why I'm in this space, having had a 20+ year career in intellectual property, is because I really believe we have opportunities to create more egalitarian IP-based wealth. And what does that mean? That means that here in the United States, there are so many people who are unbanked, who have been shut out of our financial system, and who haven't really had a meaningful way to be able to gain value from their creativity or innovation.
Yeah.
Now, think about all the blessings we have as Americans. Now go to the developing world. And there are people who truly have not had access, but maybe they have a mobile phone. And maybe that's the way that a woman or girl can put their art on OpenSea and be able to gain value or to grow a community. And that can be life-changing for people in so many parts of the world. So while there are certain stereotypes of who's in this space, I think it is so important to see women, to see people of color, to see marginalized communities show up and participate, because that representation matters. And it might be the thing that opens the door a little wider and causes someone to say, if Francesca could do this, she's a mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a space for me in this Web3 thing that I keep hearing about. And I hope that what examples like yours will do is help people see themselves in the space. We need, and I hear this all the time in Web3, there's this concept called WAGMI. We're all going to make it, right? WAGMI has to be by design.
Yeah.
It has to be by purposefully inviting people into the space, sharing resources, tools, and information, and saying, here's how you can gain value from being here. And that, what I am finding, is everyone from celebrities and influencers and athletes to the smaller artists issuing their first collection need that kind of support, information, resources, and encouragement.
That's why I love this space. It just brings it all together. And what's at the core is intellectual property and how to protect it and monetize it and give access, which is what NFTs do, Web3, blockchain. So there's going to be a lot that comes out of this. And I think that the more user friendly, the easier it's going to be to buy crypto, the easier it is going to be to buy and mint NFTs, that we're just going to see, like you said, it become more egalitarian for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things that will help that is for people to have a context. You probably get asked the same question I do often. What am I buying when I buy an NFT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or someone who says, what am I supposed to do in the metaverse? Like, what does that even mean? I work with clients who do so many extraordinary different things, like doing data analytics in the metaverse to figure out, like, what is the right place for a brand, right? Having great conversations around helping brands understand what will earn you respect in this space versus the very high meter for those who are not authentic in their intention in the space. And how do you take what you've already built, maybe in a Web2 setting, and think about how you can better serve your community? Blockchain technology has extraordinary possibilities, but it's not the right solution for everything, right? Let's say that out loud. You have to think about how it is a step change improvement to be able to bring people along to see the value in this space. And so, again, back to my comment about curation, helping people understand what am I getting, and helping creators understand what value do I want to provide. I have so much fun thinking. Are you a fan of Beyonce?
Who isn't?
So I had this, I thought about this off the top of my head. I was speaking to an entertainment lawyer who's prominent here in Atlanta. And I was saying, so how are your clients thinking through this space? What are they doing? How are they approaching Web3? How are they building strategy? And he said, they're interested, they're aware, but they're not really sure what tack to take. And I said, well, let's use Beyonce as an example. So I said, everybody knows her fans are called the Beehive, right? And so what if she said, I'm going to take 2% of the revenues from my next concert, and I'm going to create the Beehive DAO, right? And so you can buy an NFT from that concert, and that will be your authentication tool to be able to access the Beehive DAO, right? And then I'm also all of the money from the NFTs is going to go into the treasury of the DAO. And then the 2% of my concert is also going to go in. And if you are a member of the Beehive, then you get to do things like vote. If I'm down to 3 cities that aren't currently on the map for my tour, members of the Beehive DAO will get to vote on what that last city should be. Or she has this great partnership with Adidas, right, for Ivy Park. Maybe there's one piece in that collection or one color in that collection that you have to be a member of the Beehive to have access to be able to buy that, right? And so that's your flex and your swag, that I'm in the Beehive DAO, and that's how I got access to this gear that nobody else could get access to. Or maybe they vote on a charity that they want to support, or maybe they have some fund that goes into artists like Chloe and her sister who Beyonc helped make famous, right? So maybe there's an artist fund and the members of the DAO can vote on that. And what does that do? That takes the truest fans and makes them feel like they have a meaningful connection to Beyonc, because they are not just in a fan club, they are in the Beehive DAO, right? So those are the kinds of conversations. Isn't that so fun? Y'all tell Beyonc that we have this idea.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been saying, oh, Starbucks needs to do an NFT. I want unlimited coffee. And then like the same day I said it on a LinkedIn audio, the Starbucks CEO announced that we're getting into the NFT game. I'm like, hey, yeah. I need
So we gotta have you an agent, Francesca, so that you can negotiate these deals.
No, this was amazing, and I feel like we just covered so much. I'm gonna go back and watch this again. I feel like you really did touch on so much and give so much value. JoAnn, where's the best way that people can stay connected and follow you?
So I'm not on IG very much, but I am pretty active on LinkedIn. That is where I typically share content if I'm speaking. It can be a little tough to get on my calendar these days, but I, like you, am committed to giving good information and supporting the ecosystem of Web3. So JoAnn Holmes on LinkedIn, and then my website is Holmes at Law. I'm on Twitter, also handle Holmes at Law, but the best place to connect is definitely LinkedIn.
I know LinkedIn is, I love LinkedIn. It's the place. It really is.
Yes, yes.
Okay, JoAnn, thank you so much for coming. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Legal Limelight, and we will catch you next week.
This was so fun. Thanks, Francesca. Bye-bye.